It's amazing that we're wrapping up another year with only one meeting left, and just help us make the most of each and every day. And the decisions tonight, we never take lightly, but there's always opportunities for greater wisdom, and that you have and that you are willing to give, and we thank you for that. And we pray this in Jesus' mighty name, amen. Amen. Amy, if you would, roll call.
Brandon Elmore. Bob Leahy.
Here.
Jason Brewer.
Here.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Peter Price.
Here.
All right. The consent agenda. Do we have any questions, thoughts, comments? If not, I would have entertained a motion for approval.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a first, do we have a second?
All second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Consent agenda approved as presented. Did you get the first and second? I'm so sorry. Bob, right, motion?
Yes.
And Jason seconded.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Department reports, just want to extend a thank you, tremendous thank you for everybody that helped out with the park. We've got a couple guys in here I need to call out. I didn't mean to don't mean to embarrass you, but because I am. Trey and Jackson are a couple Boy Scouts that have joined us, and they have been a tremendous help in the park, helping me stake lights. They've been kind of inside to see the madness, you know, and thank you guys for your efforts, because every single bit of contribution makes a difference. It really does. And so we felt like we had a good turnout Friday night, and felt like it was good. And thank goodness we didn't have this weather. It was cold enough the way it was. And so really, again, appreciate that. And that's, of course, running through New Year's Eve. And then executive director started today for Vision Corner, temporarily officing next to Steve until the office is finished over there at the Vision Corner at the facility. And then December, well, I guess that we'll have 2 days before on the council meeting to announce again, but December 13th, the State of Indiana Preservation Society is having a gathering over here at Vision Corner.
Oh, good.
So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
They've actually publicized that throughout the state.
Nice.
And so, yeah, in fact, I was caught off guard. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were from Muncie, and they said, I'll be over there. And I said, really, what for? And then they talked about being at Vision Corner. So it's kind of cool. I didn't realize they were part of the state preservation. So. Council members, Tito, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I have a number of questions. One is the, let's see, a few meetings back, we had talked about an ordinance for a designated outdoor refreshment area. Do we have any progress? Is that coming? Is that still on everybody's to-do list?
It's coming, so
Okay.
we don't have the collaborative part with Union City, Ohio quite dialed in yet, so we're not going to go down that road until the entire vision is created.
Okay, thanks. And that we had also spoken something about an economic revitalization area in downtown. I think it was related to, I don't know, giving a tax break maybe to...
Yeah, that's been discussed twice. It would be up to council to decide to do that, and if we created that classification, then we would be able to abate property owners' taxes in the downtown corridor while they're doing renovations and maintenance or beautification on their properties. I would see that as a huge benefit to coincide with the facade grant opportunity as well, but it kind of just died on the vine. If you guys would like to revisit that conversation, I'm happy to put the ordinance together. You guys would have to pass it, so we'd have to create a geographical area first. Obviously, downtown business corridor would be the ones most likely to use it, and then you guys would have to agree, for example, the way it was explained to us, let's say for a 5-year period of time while they were doing, say, roof work or painting or new windows and doors or a new storefront or something like that, you would abate their property taxes while they were doing the work, and they would have a window to complete the project.
Is that abatement just the city's portion of the tax, unless the county participates in it?
It's my understanding that
Or
it
is it
would be
a
a complete tax abatement,
Okay.
but the city would have to initiate that conversation in the county. The way it was explained to me by Mr. Castor would basically almost sign off on the
Okay.
process.
So the county would be.
The first step would be to complete the geographical location that we would allow property owners to do work for the abatement, and then you guys would have to set the time frame for the projects.
Thank you. So, I mean, I consider that I don't know, maybe a possible, and I'm sorry to bring it up, right? It was just that I was going through some of the old minutes of our meetings, and I came across that, and I wonder where it stood. I think it's an option that we might consider in the future. I don't know about my colleagues, but I don't think it's something we can do yet. But, I mean, it's an option eventually to eventually consider. I had a question from a concerned citizen who asked me to use his name, Ron Pruitt, and he has noticed that our colleague, Brandon Elmore, has moved out of his residence, and so his question is, are we expecting him to resign from his post on city council since he's no longer going to be in this district?
Yeah, he hasn't officially assumed his new address, but he's got one more council meeting than he has done. He conveyed to us early on, this was well after he was elected in the primaries, and then of course with the notch he was running unopposed, that he would be hopefully moving if they could sell their house. And so they have sold their house, but we conveyed this to the chair of the Republican, who basically spearheads the search for replacement, just like the Democratic Party would.
Right.
So, and the individual that has been willing to step forward is Gary Elliott, who lives in the precinct.
Good.
So, yeah. So,
Well, hey.
so if you know Gary,
I do.
that's okay. Good deal. Yeah. So they approved him, and so he would officially take oath and office at the beginning of 2024.
Okay.
So,
Perfect. That was awesome. So last meeting we had spoken about a possible town hall meeting to receive people's questions, and I don't know if you noticed, but I posted on Facebook asking people when they thought it would be best. They definitely want to avoid work hours. And not too many people have posted on it. I think a lot of people have seen it, but the consensus seems to be that a Saturday would be awesome.
do you have the Ohio council members' emails? I don't expect you to.
I don't. I have some
You
contact.
don't mind, I'll get those to you. So
I'm not sure we're ready yet to have we just want, I don't know, that's my thinking, I could be wrong. At least for this first one, just let the Indiana side ask the questions, the people who elected us, so we can respond to that. I mean, I totally understand the
well, I mean, I can see both sides of it.
that would be the next, I mean, I don't know, someone else has another opinion.
I'm just saying, if they had questions for folks from there, I just want Ohio to represent some, in other words, so it doesn't look like we're the ones driving this train solely.
Also, it's a public thing, so you could have,
Yeah, because this isn't a meeting. I mean, it's not a form, but because of rules governing council too, we also can't have more than 2 council members present. Correct? Well, we're not discussing
Well, it's all public.
policy.
It's all public.
Yeah.
Right.
But if we advertise it,
Yeah.
I mean, we can advertise it like a meeting, and then we can do that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Correct.
You
And it
gotta-
advertises
I mean,
it joint.
Technically, you got to advertise it to get support to people to come. So
Yeah, so you could advertise it as a meeting
You
that
just
way,
advertise
and that way
it
you're all
as
in the
a-
clear.
And is the
Public
legal
meeting.
requirement 2 weeks?
Yes,
2 weeks. Okay.
I
So,
think it's,
I mean-
or 10
10
business days.
Well, it's
Maybe it's 2
business
weeks.
days.
I-
Yeah.
I'm not saying because it's not a council meeting and that whole thing's foggy for me. So
Well, yeah, that would be the easiest way, because that way you could all be there if you wanted to be.
It's
Just have formally advertise it.
it's possible. Okay, and I'm probably kind of with you on this. It's possible that you could technically have a session without going through the formality of legally advertising it. But if you strayed off topic, somebody could say,
Right.
"Hey, you did that." So
Right.
the best thing to do is just to follow the guideline, advertise it, make it a legal public meeting. It can be just our group. It
One
can be
agenda item,
both
which
groups
would be-
together,
Yeah.
whatever. But if you just follow the laws and advertise it appropriately for each agency, then it's
That's a great
then
idea.
it's open, and,
Yeah.
and nobody can say, "Hey, you did business."
Right, that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
So, because somebody accidentally makes the wrong statement,
Yeah, yeah,
and that could be construed as some sort of
Mhm.
business, then
yeah, that's a great
then
idea.
you'd have to worry about that. But otherwise, I don't. I mean, I see both sides too, but I also see the productivity of having both councils, just because we want to have the inclusion.
Mhm.
We don't want anybody to, we don't want it to appear one-sided.
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, yeah, because there's a lot. Yeah, I would actually prefer both sides, because there's a lot of misconceptions of people thinking, oh, there's going to be one school. No, there's some schools that have nothing to do with this. There's going to be one mayor. No, there still has to be 2 mayors. There's going to be only one set of police officers on one side. No, there's still Ohio police officers. There's still Indiana police officers. There's still Ohio fire department or firefighters. There's still Indiana firefighters. All that stays the same. And that's one of the biggest things, I think, to get established. And so because of that, I think it helps to have Ohio representation there, at least the offer,
Yeah,
the ability. Because it's just an open forum
right.
for discussion. It's not, we're not doing business.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have an
Making
obligation.
decisions.
Yeah, we're not making decisions. So it's just it's a flat out public meeting. So,
Yeah.
Still with 2 weeks previous notice. I mean, we're running up into the holidays. I'm thinking probably
January,
January.
Yeah,
or-
I think after the first of the year.
yeah, I just think that would be better anyway, because otherwise you'll run into folks saying, well, I would go, but we've got stuff scheduled before.
We're in the no-go zone here.
Yeah.
It's the Christmas holiday.
It's going to be nuts.
First of December on, it's all.
And that way
business.
Gary could be part of it too.
Yeah.
Because,
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
well, not that he couldn't be part of it anyway, because I
Yeah.
mean, he
He'd
could
be
just
a
attend
citizen,
as a
but
citizen. But,
Right.
um,
Okay.
But I think the way I feel about the inclusion of UCO is that inevitably somebody's going to direct a question that is a question
Yeah.
that should be directed toward them,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be answered by us.
Correct.
It should
Correct.
be answered by them.
correct.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
Okay, so my last one is a doozy. It's about city support for our new businesses in town. So, Mr. Mayor, you were elected in 2019 on a pledge to revitalize downtown Union City. I have supported and defended that effort from the very beginning, because I agree that creating place, that's what the researchers and the people who know about city municipal governance, that's the term they use, creating place like we have, helps attract people, business, residents, and investors to Union City. This can lead to economic growth and greater abundance for all of us. We've all enjoyed the success of these efforts. The downtown looks much nicer. There are more businesses open in downtown Union City, more activity and movement happening, more people mingling. It's fun. It's become a place of fun, enjoyment, and fellowship. I'm very thankful for what we accomplished, and proud that I have voted yes on the necessary decisions and spending decisions including for that. So I'm about to raise a couple concerns brought to my attention, but before I do, I just want to remind people that when we're talking about these issues, we are not finger pointing at any of our businesses. I mean, they have done their work, they have taken advantage of opportunities. The issue is how we manage public resources, right? And so that's the only thing that I want to focus on. I encourage people to continue to frequent and enjoy everything that the downtown has to offer. So that said, I voted yes on various spending decisions that provided special support to businesses downtown because I believe that it furthers our objective of having a great downtown. However, I'd like to recommend to you, Mr. Mayor, City Administration, that we follow 3 basic principles, and of course we can debate if we want. Number 1, I think we think about how our businesses can become self-sustaining in the short to medium term. Number 2, require more transparency from the businesses the city supports to ensure that they're looking towards sustainability and continued engagement in Union City. And 3, so these are basic principles, right? 3, do everything possible to wean businesses from city support, have them pay their own expenses, including property taxes, to support the services we provide to them and to all our residents. This is because, and please correct me if I'm mistaken, anybody, but from a quick review of our financials this year, I literally sat down and reviewed this. There are 3, maybe 4 businesses for whom the city pays the electric bill. There is 1 or maybe 2 businesses for which the city pays the gas bill. There are at least 4 businesses operating that I know of, or that I think, operating in businesses owned by the city. For one of these, the city rehabilitated the building, provided large equipment necessary for the business, and has been purchasing inventory for resale for them since March. It's my understanding that these businesses are not paying rent. It's my understanding that these businesses are not paying property tax. Now, I've been in agreement with the innovation required to put life back into our downtown. I've also agreed with some of the expenses required to get business functioning downtown. However, as a government entity, we need to be concerned with a couple things, and this is where people were like expressing their concern. So 3 big ideas here. 1 is fairness, equality, and how this appears to other business owners who have invested their own hard-earned resources, have gone into debt, have put in their own work to rehabilitate or maintain their building and operate their business with little or no help from the city. They pay property tax, they pay rent, they pay their own utilities, and they buy their own inventory for sure. So fairness and equality among how we treat our business owners downtown. Second big idea, the sustainability of the businesses the city's supporting. We cannot subsidize them forever, so they should have plans or strategies for becoming viable, self-sustaining businesses who pay their own costs and who pay property tax. I think that's maybe we can wait, but I think these buildings were standing empty. We wanted the people to own them and pay property tax. Third big idea is risk reduction for the city of Union City. So it's no secret that one of the more prominent businesses here recently closed down its business in another nearby city. This same business has apparently not yet found financing to purchase the building and equipment it currently uses. Pays no property tax, no rent, that I understand, does not pay electricity or gas, and does not purchase its own inventory to sell. So question, where is the profit going? And yet the city's currently repairing and equipping yet another building for this same business to use on an additional venture. While that same business, and I gathered this point from a third source, so I'm not sure about it, there's some kind of, maybe it's a rumor, I don't know, has some kind of deal to acquire a building in Richmond. So, and if it's true, then after all that Union City is doing for this particular business, are they going to cut and run to Richmond. So that's a risk for all the investment that we've been putting in there. Now, that's a lot to answer, Mr. Mayor, but I know that you and the city have done this with a view to revitalizing our downtown. We know that your heart is in the right place. We've all been in general agreement with the steps you've taken. But because these questions have been raised, because of the need for transparency to ensure that we are on the right track, and to trust but verify, right, like Ronald Reagan used to say, in order to consolidate public trust in our endeavor, I am going to urge you to undertake the following, and I'm going to urge my colleagues to support the idea, or we can debate it and change it, whatever. I'd like us to request an audit, a legal review, and a business analysis. So, with the following objectives, and I'm getting to the end. Number one, we want to figure out how much money has actually gone to support each of the new local businesses, and for what purposes that money has been spent. Number two, I think we should determine whether that support has had the proper authorization. This is the legal review part, so there's two parts. So one is, what have we authorized? Just because I could be wrong, but I don't remember voting for tax breaks. I don't remember voting to pay their utilities. And maybe that's not required. I don't remember voting to seed buildings for their use. I could be wrong on that. Someone else told me that I voted yes to to purchase startup inventory. I think we called it supplies for one of the businesses. But that decision, I was like, what? I did that? And I looked back through. I couldn't find anything in the minutes. Could be that we did it, maybe just a consent without a vote or without ayes or nays or anything, just sort of consented, but it's not in the minutes. But apparently I voted for this person. Apparently I voted yes to purchase startup inventory for them. But surely I do not remember voting that we would keep buying inventory for them. So that's a concern. Number three, determine whether that support was provided in keeping with Indiana statutes, just because some people have asked the question, regarding the role and function of city governments. I mean, I know municipalities have a wide latitude of action to revitalize the city, and the mayor in particular has a lot of authority to do things like that. But, just people are asking questions like, is that even legal for a city government to, it's an ugly term, I'll just say it, subsidize, some businesses and not others. Number four, I think it would be awesome if we could provide business consulting to our downtown businesses. So get a business analysis going, something like, a consulting firm, to work with them, strategize with them, and figure out what is a strategy for them to become self-sustaining. And if there's no way to adjust the functioning of the business way they do their business, then it's going to be like the white elephant sucking all of our resources. Then at some point, we're just going to have to cut that off or somehow, do something. So they could recommend, business analysis could maybe recommend a way out, or or help the businesses themselves determine a way out. That would be awesome for everybody, and would give them the opportunity. It would help us reduce our costs and help have a sustaining downtown initiative. So I know this recommendation is long. I'd like for us to consider this as a resolution. So if we're open to that, I can send my comments to Amy, and maybe we can somehow formulate it into a resolution if we want to vote that, or whatever you all appreciate that.
Sure.
That's all I have.
You guys have any thoughts? And for what it's worth, not all that's accurate. And
That's
so, but I mean, I don't hide from anything. So I definitely stand behind everything we've done, and whatever anybody wants to do is fine with me.
I just think it's like a, you know, like a study, right? We've commissioned a number of studies, and this one would be, you know, one that lays everything out and then recommends the best way to move forward if there's anything unsustainable there at least. They can recommend a way out. And
Right.
know exactly how to
Absolutely.
do it.
I guess if it gives people peace of mind, then
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm all for it.
'Cause, I mean, if it's a way, if there's a way to convey everything, because, you know, like the building, the Hub City Finance Building, for example, that was put out for bid, that was followed under, bless you, under redevelopment, under all, you know, everything that was laid out for us and how we're supposed to do that, so, we've got accounting for, you know, state audit will come in next year, and we'll have an accounting of every single dollar we spent, where it went exactly. But totally open for it to be reviewed and totally open for business analysis. So that is absolutely positively good with me. So if you guys are good with that, I've got no problem with it.
Yeah.
Just
Sounds
be
good.
identifying an entity that would come in here, you know, an independent party that would come in and could do that.
So, I mean, I could send this to Amy or whoever, and you, and have that as a resolution. Maybe you can read it, we can study it and debate it, and needs to be changed.
We certainly need to do an analysis just to, partly to reflect, and if nothing else, just to reflect and look for what could be done differently, what
Mhm.
needs to be done, make sure that all the statutes are followed and so forth, because it's pretty hard to undertake something like that without breaking a few eggs, certainly. And I know there's some concerns otherwise with that, about how we're doing some things, and you know, it's a touchy subject when you come into looking at that.
Mhm.
I see where people get, you know, see how come this is going here but it's not going here,
Mhm.
and so.
Well, my consensus, or my take from the very beginning has been an empty building owned by the city, dormant for years, not days, not months, years, is doing nobody any good. And nobody wins. Actually, we lose. We lose on multiple facets. Number one, we have less business offerings for people to partake in. Because another thing I would be concerned with is if we were following private ventures that were only for a segment of the population, not serving the entire community and surrounding communities. It's not that, it's for public consumption. I would have a concern with building another open lot. You know, we've been, you know, we've got, I don't know how many open lots now. And the fact that, you know, I don't feel like we're serving surrounding businesses well by having properties that were for sale and were not sold, and were not for sale for extravagant amount. I think the asking price for where the coffee shop and deli was $44,000 for sale for years. And now this building across the street's been for sale for, well, it's been for sale since I took office,
Yeah.
according to the owner, because the owner and I had many discussions, and I was just curious what the owner's intentions were, and said, well, this is what we're asking for. Owner had 2 offers for it, and the owner turned them both down, and the offers were for how much the owner was asking. And now it's listed, quote unquote, but it's been empty for 4 years now. And if that building goes eventually, because nothing's been put into it, that's going to be a big corner across from another vacant corner. So I've got concerns with that. You know, and I've preached from the beginning, I don't have all the answers. I've been as aggressive as I can be to make change, and the change I've stressed many times is going to be hard. You know, and definitely not trying to push the boundaries of legality, but trying to push the boundaries of commerce and progress. And because again, we don't do anybody any good by sitting on a heap of cash We don't do anybody any good by sitting on a structure that's empty. And so, like I said, not to sound flippant, I make no apologies for what I've done. Now, if there's certain things that we need to be doing that we're not been, let's do that. Absolutely. That's why I said I hide behind nothing. But I'm, I'll be honest with you. Before I took off, I was asked to run for this position by a number of folks, including our city judge, as we were walking across this lot back here behind the building. And my answer to her was no, and it was always no to everybody. Absolutely not was actually the answer for the longest time. And then I felt like I was being led in that direction to, if my faith is real, then I need to take this plunge. But I knew, though, at that time, that if nothing would be done, I've been here long enough to nothing's going to get better. So anyway, yeah, what I would ask then is for any, if you got in mind any independent bodies to come in and take, absolutely, if we got recommendations and move in that direction. So, cool.
That's all I have.
All right. Sim?
I don't have anything.
Jason?
I just want to say how great the park looks, as usual, because it is every year with all the lights, and the downtown, how great it looks, the lights as well. So thanks to everyone who's helped with that. And
Street guys were huge, stepping
Yeah.
up downtown. And
Amazing.
They busted their tail. Did a good job.
then everyone who helped last Tuesday, the community Thanksgiving was a tremendous success. So
Yeah, that was a full house. Yeah, and you were serving.
desserts.
Yeah,
Hard not to sneak a few of those.
I was Aaron. I was Aaron boy. So that was awesome. It was a good night.
Yep.
Full house.
Yep.
So that's huge. And it was a free meal to
Yep.
everybody.
Yep.
So, Bob.
I'll echo Jason's sentiment on the lights downtown and the park. Beautiful. And parade. Some of the golf carts were really cool.
I didn't even get to see the parade because I was in it. I didn't see how long did it compared to length last year. Or do you remember?
I didn't see last year's.
It was a lot longer. I would say there was probably
Better this year.
Was it
20
Good.
more
Good. That's encouraging.
participants, and their decorations had lots of character and lots of thought put
Awesome.
into them.
That's awesome. Well, I noticed the attendance seemed to be thicker down Oak Street, the opening down there. There were a lot of folks gathered in down there, so it looked like more, and it was a decent group down here on Columbia. So it looked like a few more attended.
Yeah, I mean, we were downtown on Columbus Street. I would say downtown was buzzing.
Good. Good deal. Well, that's encouraging. That's, again, at least step in the right direction. So when you're fighting lights that aren't working out there, it seems like at least it's worth it.
It was a big improvement
So,
over last year, the parade,
good deal.
big deal.
Good deal. Awesome. Awesome.
That's all I had.
No, thank you, Bob. Steve.
So where do we begin? You guys, I handed you a Cooley quote or a proposal. So with our frustrations with Greenwood Trailer Park and them not following through with our agreed upon process, we are proposing that we dot the i's and cross the t's in the letter from their attorney, and confirm and verify what the water meter readings are. So the first part of this proposal, $35,980, would install a master meter into the water line going into the park. They made a claim in the letter we received from their attorney that they were confident that we weren't even billing them for all the residents or the amount of water that they were actually using. We have confirmed that we are billing for every resident. What we are not billing for is theoretically any water that is currently leaking that has not been detected. They don't get billed for when we test their private hydrants. They don't get billed for some things that once we install this master meter, they will be getting billed for every ounce of water that goes through the pipe. So I would request council's approval to move forward with this. It probably wouldn't be done till mid to late January, so it would be kind of on next year's budget. And then the bottom part of the proposal, what is driving this whole conversation in general is the I&I getting into the storm or into the wastewater.
What's I&I, please?
It's basically infiltration into the sanitary sewer, groundwater, stormwater, things like that. So what the bottom will do is it would basically give us the ability to meter that, and it would build the structure to house that meter. We would also be putting or installing a shutoff valve to isolate their system since it is a private system. We have sent their letter to IDEM, and IDEM is in agreement with the city because the city is still currently under an agreed order with IDEM. It is a private system that we are allowing to access ours. They are running 2 pumps when we're getting heavy rain. They're literally overflowing our city's sanitation system. IDEM is instructing us to put them on notice that they are only permitted to run 1 pump, and if they back up in the street, it will be their problem to notify IDEM, and they would have to pay the fines and penalties, not the city. So we have kind of 2 projects. I would like to encourage council to move forward with both. We are also probably going to have a little bit more to invest on the wastewater side because we're going to actually, the meter we're going to put in is more of a partial flume, which is going to give us more accurate readings or measurements. And right now the agreed process that we're setting in is that we're billing them. It's a mathematical calculation based on the amount of water we're selling to them, to their residents. We're billing them and doing a calculation to identify. Currently they owe the city $213,000-ish. The agreed conversation was that they would be taking that money that they should be paying to the city and investing it in fixing their I&I problem, and they're basically abandoning hopes of doing that. So at this point we believe it's going to probably end up in litigation, and what we need to do from our perspective is begin the process of dotting I's and crossing T's and knowing exactly what's going in, what's coming out, and having the ability to shut it down in the event we have to shut it down. So that's the Cooley proposal. Again, I would like council's approval to move forward with the water portion now. We still have some more quotes that we're gathering for the partial flume on the wastewater side.
So can you sort of, the wastewater side, so that's not necessarily what the water that we're providing, that's from nature, yes?
Wastewater is their sewage.
Sewage.
Right, but
Anything
you
that
said,
goes down the drain.
right, but I thought
I&I is stormwater
Stormwater is what you're
that
thinking?
gets into the sanitary sewer lines, which causes an influx of water that we're required to process, that our plant is theoretically could be overran if there's too much I&I. So IDEM, Indiana Department of Environmental Management, has basically placed the city on an agreed order, and our mission every day of the week is to do away with I&I in our system. We track it down. That's why we do lateral inspections. That's why we have a $500,000 vac truck to get I&I out of our sanitary sewer system. That's what we do. Greenwood Trailer Park is a private collection system that feeds into our system, and it's pumping an ungodly amount of I&I into our system.
So, can I take a little bit and explain it kind of the way Brad does, it makes it fairly good explanation. So Greenwood Park, of course, is in a low area. It all their wastewater flows into a pit basin that has pumps in it. Then it's basically a lift station. It pumps it to our line out at South Street. So their pumps, let's say on normal or on dry weather when we've not had any rain events or anything, the pumps have timers on them to tell you what the run time is. So you may have one pump running for an hour and 15 minutes, something like that, in a 24-hour period. When you get a serious rain event, you may have a pump running for 20 hours, 24 hours. You may have both pumps running for hours. There's been times where, in the past, where the alarms were going off because even though both pumps were running, they were still flooded out. So that tells you that there's a tremendous amount of stormwater infiltration, rainwater infiltration into those sanitary lines. And so then, of course, that gets pumped up to our sanitary line on South Street, which goes to the south lift, that goes straight north up to Pearl Street, goes to State Line, goes all the way up around town to the wastewater plant. Well, obviously, if you're pumping that much stormwater through that system, we're spending a lot of money pumping it. They're bringing a lot of water in. So what it amounts to is that the rest of the ratepayers are subsidizing their problem, their I&I problem.
But where should that water go?
Well,
it shouldn't be going. It should go into the stormwater
in the
system.
stormwater collection system.
Why isn't it?
Because the ground is saturated and it's leaching into the sewage system.
And with combination of saturated ground and failed pipe, failed underground mains and laterals.
This is why we spend thousands of dollars lining sewers and doing all those things, because we have to seal out the groundwater and the storm water that's leaching into the sanitary sewer.
Now,
So it's like there's cracks, but there's water going into.
Correct.
there's been a lot of work done over the years to mitigate the stormwater problems that the city has done, and the county has done some of that, and it's helped it some. It's reduced it. It's not you don't have the flooding events in that park that you did years ago. You know, at times they took people out in boats. In the early '90s, late '80s, early '90s, they had a couple of events. Steve's familiar with actually doing it, where they took people out in boats, and those events are gone because some work has been done to mitigate those problems by people other than the owners, not the current owners. Obviously, they didn't own it then, but it was all done by the county and the city to get that done. But now there's still an infiltration problem that has to be resolved because IDEM is holding us accountable for it. But the storm events tell the tale. But we need to. You can't document it by the runtime meter on a pump. You have to have the accurate meter readings of both the water meter in and their sanitary out.
So this what you presented to us today, Steve, is not to solve that water seepage problem.
No.
Is to measure how much we're sending in from the city.
Correct.
So my question is, what are we doing about that? Are we doing anything? Are we going to do anything to stop the seepage into? That's one. And then second, what are we
First
doing?
of all, it's not our problem to stop their infiltration. It's
It's
a
a
private
collection
system.
system.
It's a private collection.
So the only thing we can do is shut it off at the point of access to the park in the utility right of way. Now, that is not our intention to shut it off completely, but we have to be able to control the amount that they're sending us. It's their responsibility to fix their problem. What they're now saying, they've been saying for the last 2 years, allow us to use this money instead of paying the bill to fix the problem. Now what they're saying is, we're not gonna fix the problem because we don't believe there is a problem. It's your issue, not ours.
Okay. That thing, I just wanted to
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. That's,
So you made a request of them.
Just need
For
to,
this?
I would like to notify Cooley's to move this project forward and get it on the calendar. Probably won't occur till mid to late January. At least the water side. We still have some more work on the wastewater side.
in Board of Works, we had some discussion that Brad presented. There's a couple of options that go with this where there's deduction if, what is that? $2,200 deduction?
It's about $9,300
Yeah.
if we
Well-
provide the parts and pieces and if we seed and repair the dig site.
But we still have to buy the parts.
Yeah, we still have to buy seed and we
We
still
still
have
have
to.
to do that, but there's some variation, but with that being said, the Board of Works made the recommendation to approve the $35,980 as it is, and then savings will be made where possible. I assume we'll take this out of water.
Yeah, it'll have to come out of water.
Yeah,
So there's monies there.
I'm good.
Yeah, but
What'd you say?
they're good.
Good?
Do we have a consensus?
Okay.
Yeah.
We need a motion. I'll make a motion. We
Make a
accept the-
motion.
the bid amount for $35,980, not to exceed, for Cooley Contracting.
Thank
We have
you.
a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Amy, if you would, roll call vote.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Kim Heiss,
Yes.
Peter Freas.
Yes.
Second one, sorry. RQAW, this is the proposal for creating the paperwork, the engineering documents, everything we would need to be shovel-ready for the South Water Loop and the wastewater infrastructure for the industrial park. The total estimate is $643,100. Normally, we roll all of those documents and everything into the grant and the total project cost. We have had 3 or 4 grant projects, grant possibilities pushed back to late January, early February by the state. The ups and downs of the federal government going on shutdown or not shutdown or whatever they're doing, that too has provided us a little bit of slowdown in making application on some things. So RQAW is proposing that we go ahead and move this forward and start paying this in a monthly payment. I've given you that information. There's this monthly payment breakdown to basically prepare the documents. Now, at any point in time, if we get funded on this project, we could roll the cost of these documents into that funding, but keep in mind, the city would be committing to that if we sign this agreement. So I think this deserves careful consideration over the next couple weeks, and we need to decide in the meeting in December what you want to do. The reason that this is imperative to get these documents started sooner rather than later is Cardinal Ethanol is demanding almost 2 million gallons of water by spring of 25. And we're going to, if we don't start this till we get funded, we're going to waste 3 or 4 months getting the documents created. We have the preliminaries, we know cost estimates for the job, but we gotta go ahead and dot the i's and cross the t's and be shovel ready when we get funded is what it's starting to look like. So we're kind of attacking this one maybe a little bit in reverse, if you so choose.
I'm curious, what is changing at Cardinal Ethanol that requires them to increase their water usage?
They want to produce more ethanol.
They're basically upping their production, which is the equivalent of double what their original production is. I mean, they're higher than that now, but it will be essentially, they will be double what the plant was when it originally started.
And so this, how much?
$643,100.
That's just for the paperwork.
It's just for the paperwork.
Engineering, not paperwork, engineering.
The project total is in the millions of dollars.
And so, I mean, this is something that is for their production process.
It is not only for their production process. This is to feed the industrial park. It theoretically also picks up residential customers around the industrial park. It is to put infrastructure throughout the entire industrial park and connect it by roadway out to 700. It is not just to feed Cardinal ethanol.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me, because if we don't, it's to facilitate growth ultimately in the industrial park. So if it doesn't happen, we're not positioned for growth. But at the same time, we also don't have visibility into what is coming our way by way of grant support. And so that's where I am uncomfortable, because it's a you know what if you do and a you know what if you don't, kind of scenario. So I've reached out to Mike Flint of Ice Miller, who's been working on the large package out there for Workhorse, because they're working on a bond and B bond for a TIF out there for the industrial park, which means the B, I think it's the B bond, where the A bond, the funds go, I might have this reversed, but the A bond, I think the funds go to Workhorse for their expansion, but the B bond, the funds would come back to us and would allow that to be the input into the state package, which goes right back to them, to fund the infrastructure development. I know that sounds fandangled, but that's the way it spins. So, but we don't have verification as to that happening. We don't have that's what's supposed to happen, but we don't have any dates. We don't have any ink even on the paper, let alone for it to dry. And that's where my discomfort is. And so I'm trying to communicate with Mike over the next couple of days to see, okay, can you give us some clarity on this so we have something concrete?
And I officially set on this for a meeting because we were hoping that we were going to have more clarity by Thanksgiving on that project. So I didn't present it at the last meeting simply because of that. So
yeah, because if I could sit here confidently and tell you, yeah, the infrastructure, actually, this is what we're looking at in terms of funding for the infrastructure. That's
we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So piping and infrastructure is going to go by our trailer park. Is there some way to relieve the? I mean, they're a low-lying area of Union City, and they accumulate water regardless. Even if they repair the seepage into our sewage, whatever, they still have water accumulating always there. Is there some way to adjust this project to something?
No way possible. The south water loop will be behind the trailer park. It'll be a 20-inch main or 24-inch main. It'll be providing large volumes of water. It's not anything that through that section from the water treatment plant to the point of connection at B&M Steel anybody would be tapped into. The wastewater infrastructure upgrade would go straight N32 through Jackson Pipe. So it runs in different directions.
No, good question. Anything else, Steve?
No, that's all I got. And this is not just pipe. This is filters, pumps. This is wells. This is a complete update of the water treatment facility.
And my saying paperwork is.
Yeah, I know.
is facetious
It does
from the
feel like that.
Well, it does, but it's facetious from the standpoint of that a lot of, you know, you look at the number and it's kind of eye-popping, but there's a tremendous amount of legal work.
Yep.
Getting right-of-ways and so forth, it gets very expensive.
This has to go through a lot of state agencies. NDOT gets involved. And
Through a lot.
EP, you name it.
Hopefully we'll have some, maybe we'll have some clarity soon on at least some idea of where federal budget process is going through that. We had this discussion at Board of Works that this, you know, that my feeling was, and Steve had similar feelings and Bob did, that a lot of this holdback on the grant process is because the federal agencies don't know where they're at. They don't know whether they're going to shut down and you know, I don't know what you run into, if you've had any rumblings in the agency you work for as far as whether there's a question on funding, but a lot of the agencies are like, you know, if the government shuts down, we're out. And so they're not throwing around big numbers and lots of money because they don't want to make promises they can't keep until this process gets through. Yeah. Probably one way or another, once the process happens, it probably won't change what they've been doing a whole lot. It just isn't going to proceed until that happens. So
yeah, I agree.
But so we may be able to put this off a little bit, but I'm afraid we're going to be forced to make a decision before we have all the information we'd really like to have. But
let's hope not. But that's what I fear.
I mean, it may be.
So if we are going to use $643,000 to do the engineering, that means we're pretty much decided that we're going forward with this project, and I agree. I mean, it's a forward-looking project, and that project is going to be for $1 million plus.
No. I wish. More, is it 17?
Everything combined, the wastewater and the water loop, which is all we're talking about. We're not even talking about the roadway. It's in the $20 million range. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So how are we thinking about funding that part? I mean,
That's what we're just talking about. Yeah, it would be like the wastewater. That was
like a bond, like a multi-year bond.
yeah, rural development and a large grant. I mean,
Okay,
a huge
grant.
part of that was grant.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we'd have to be looking at. Yeah, because we can't be on the hook for that.
And
this money would roll into that,
Right.
In terms of
Which is how we did the wastewater.
right. We
Yeah.
spent
It's like, was it
Chad, we spent a lot of money previous to securing the wastewater grant
Mhm.
that went toward our match.
Right, right.
Correct.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's like an 80-20 match. They'll provide 80% of the funds if you provide 20%.
yeah,
So like,
a
yeah,
lot. We're talking about.
Monies like these that you've already spent, it's not like, oh, well, you already spent it, so
Right.
that doesn't apply. No, they take all this. Now, that doesn't ease the pain of having to come up with this in the first
Right.
place.
right.
And
On the other end, playing devil's advocate on both sides of the fence, the one good thing is this is a customer too. So the more water we supply, the more funds
Right.
we retrieve.
I've asked this question before, and have you put you on the spot? Have you looked at what our receipts from Cardinal? I keep forgetting to check.
I haven't done that for a while, but it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah.
That we receive in receipts from them.
Right.
Okay.
So
So-
you're looking at not doubling it, but not far from it
Right.
at this point. So Probably.
So I guess is any part of this study going to look at that sort of projected
Calculation of revenue.
Because the big concern is, are we going to pay more for our water?
No, we're not.
No.
No. This is independent of that.
Okay.
They are, but not the rate. They're going to pay whatever the new rate that you guys established. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago for Cardinal?
I can't remember when.
We hadn't raised the rate for a while, and then you guys raised.
Yeah.
You guys, the administration raised the rate. We raised the rate. I think it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So they would, whatever that rate is, times their increased consumption. That's what the revenue
So
would
we're
amount to.
probably.
Well, they've given us the increased flow, haven't they? What they require?
Cardinal?
Yeah,
They're telling us 1.7 million, but
in gallons increase. So that's what we need to do. We just need to take 1.7 times what the rate is. That would tell us what the revenue, expected revenue would
right, and that's per day.
Per day.
be. That's
Per day.
Oh, you thought you left your faucet running.
Brad's conversations might indicate more than that.
Oh mercy. Oh, that has Brad asleep or awake at night or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
So where do we get the money for the 643,000? Where do we get? Where does that come from? If we vote yes.
It would come out of the water department side of the budget. I couldn't, because I haven't dug into it, I couldn't tell you specifically what line item, but it would come out of the revenue side of the budget with the water department. Again, the project has to be done, and some of this you guys need to understand, like the wastewater project, for example, 9 years from start to finish. So that $640,000 was spent over many years before we even went to a shovel-ready project. This project doesn't have that kind of time cycle. This is a at-once type of an issue. So it's going to be imperative that we get funding. It's going to be imperative that this is an all-hands working project. I believe there's a strong probability that it will be funded, but we gotta move it into that realm, and we haven't been able to do that yet.
So that's looms for December 11th.
Oh, we're not gonna vote today on that.
No, I'd rather you not.
I would rather you guys look at the documents and have a better understanding of the scope of the project.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'd rather have the opportunity
Think
to
about
have
it.
some other conversations.
Can you
Try to
get
slip
us
like-
some particulars on the revenue source from water in terms of how it comes, how it affects balances and so forth, just so we have that kind of eyes wide open.
I can have Mary Ann put that together tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
Some basic numbers on that.
I like that.
That'd
Steve,
be
did you?
helpful, so we know what we're committing our
Yeah,
resources, or what we
Agreed.
have.
that was it, correct?
Yes, sir. I think I've done enough damage.
Just a heads up, everybody. I reached out to Neil this afternoon about a new representative or an additional representative for the school, because unfortunately, poor Josiah, he's been a busy boy with work, and so has been unable to attend. And we really value the student representation at our council meeting. So, so we're going to try to identify a backfill that can help provide that voice and presence to the meeting. Old business. Of course, we can't. We have to wait. Yeah, go ahead.
I actually have something this time.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Hold on.
Amy.
Okay, there are 2 items that were included in the packets that we need you to look at closely for the December meeting. The one is regarding the funding possibilities for the ADM project. So it's a very large amount of information, but that is something that needs to be looked at closely. And then the other one, the last 2 pages were the additional appropriations. We need you to review those closely, and if there's any questions, just reach out to me or Jan before the meeting, so we can try to get you all the answers and all the information needed for that.
No, I appreciate it. Wait, bring Tito. Additional funding for ABM, the funding route is in the packet, right?
Yes.
And then the additional appropriations, both of those things will be on the docket for the next meeting for December 11th. Amy wanted to make sure she called that to your attention. To everybody's attention. I just want to reach. Old business ordinance 2023-18, which is the ordinance amending chapter 51 and 55 of the codified ordinances of the city of Union City. As it relates to fees for the city equipment, this is on the second reading. There's been no changes, correct, to this since, so no proposed changes to what you guys first approved on the first reading at the previous meeting. If there are no questions or comments, I would hereby entertain a motion.
That's the Gilmore and Bell. That's the equipment fees.
Yeah. That's what the-
So I guess I read through some of that and boy, it was long. That was homework for Thanksgiving. But why are we holding funds in escrow?
Oh, no, this
No,
is,
that is
Wrong question?
yeah, you're on the ABM.
ABM.
This is on the equipment and labor agreement with UCO.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it's not just UCO, but
Yeah, in general.
it addresses that relationship.
I'm lost. Then can
So it is Gilmore and Bell, but it's for lease of any equipment that the city possesses.
I mixed it up with something else.
Gilmore and Bell is the
That's
company with ABM.
That's the ABM thing. And
That's
so
the
this is
ABM.
something-
This,
The ordinance in question is something you guys have already
Oh,
passed at
sorry,
the
I
last
did give you
meeting.
the amendment 51.
I got you confused. Should be on the,
should be just prior to.
yeah, prior to that.
It's here.
You say it was in last
Oh yeah.
last
Yeah,
meeting's packet.
we
There we
looked
go.
at this last time as well.
Right
Okay.
there, yeah.
Okay.
It's right, it's the next page, we were looking at the very next page.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments?
No questions. I'll move we accept ordinance 2023-18, ordinance amending chapter 51 and 55 of codified ordinances of Union City, Indiana, as it relates to fees for city equipment on second reading by title only.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
That was Bob. If you would, roll call vote.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Freeman.
Yes.
All right, and then new business, we have before you the continuing conversation we had last time regarding the proposed resolution for the city's contribution toward a executive director role. That again is funded, the salary funded by the grant through Empower Schools with the school. The salary is, but then the benefits proposal would be city's contribution for 1 year. And for the coverage not to exceed 25,000, and we're trying to trim it down from that. What we have actually is a proposal for, I think it's 1,100 per month for insurance, dental, health, and vision. And then the match on the what would have been the match on the perf, which would be 11% of salary, which would be 7,100. So it'd be total between insurance and retirement, not to exceed 25,000 for the first year, as part of the city's contribution toward the role and toward Vision Corner for 2024. And again, it's in resolution form with the intent of Vision Corner having sustainability and taking on that themselves.
Refresh my memory on how the perf is set up. as far as through whose perf is this?
Well, and again, it's
What
not, it
houses?
can't be through the city because PERF has to be a government entity.
Okay.
So we've reached out to local financial advisor on how to help us set this up to where it can be basically her retirement
Right.
fund that we could pay
I
into.
guess
or
what
this
my-
fund would pay into.
Where I'm going with that is that as this progresses, I see it as where this progresses, it keeps it, where nothing's lost, or there's no, loss in benefit for the person.
Right.
In this position.
Right.
If the funding source and basically the employer changes, if it morphs into where somebody else is the employer, that it flows through where they're covered.
I think I see where you're going. Yeah, it's
I
Vision
can't say it
Corner. They're actually going to be employed by
By
Vision Corner.
and that, so
So
it should
that-
stay that way.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
board has in its bylaws the establishment of how this is set up to
Okay.
ensure that that position is fully funded and funded in a manner in which it's established for the role.
So we're just the funding source for a year,
Yeah,
not the,
just a
not the
contributor.
actual- just a
Yeah,
contributor.
correct. Correct.
Okay. But I'm
Good
just
question.
looking at for stability.
Yeah,
on that,
exactly.
or to keep stable through that process.
Exactly. So if you guys had a chance to read that over.
Yeah.
Yes, and you said that because it's a resolution, it's a 1 year.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And that's the whole point of it, because the idea is, again, to achieve sustainability with the Vision Corner entity outside of the city. Because that way, and the thought process, just to be transparent, thought process behind that is city folks change, and city administrations change. But the idea is Vision Corner to be self-sustaining because the idea of education and improvement and development should never change.
Absolutely.
If it is, we're going to die, literally.
Well, I think that was one of the discussions we had at the beginning of this whole process
Yeah.
was that for us to participate in this, we wanted to be able to step away from it.
Yes,
and
exactly. Yes,
and have
yeah.
it be its
Yep.
own
I remember
entity
Nate
and
bringing
so
that up.
forth.
Absolutely.
For that.
Absolutely.
partly for that purpose.
Yeah, because we don't want somebody to come in and say, well, I don't want this anymore, and just do away with it. It'd be,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's to be a fully functioning independent entity,
Absolutely.
a la John Jay Center in Portland, where they do the technical training for their local
We
manufacturers.
can always be a player in it, but not.
Yeah,
We
but-
don't want to be the arbiter.
Exactly.
And
So
John
that-
Jay's a great example of that.
Yeah.
My sister was involved in that process, and that was very, very good project, and she really felt rewarded by that.
That's awesome, and my hat's off to Rusty Inman because he was a godsend to Bill Corbin and me early on in this
Doing this,
process. We
yeah.
we paid a couple visits to him up there and had a few meetings just to gain his insight on how to structure all this and tap into state and industrial partners and so and medical partners. So yeah, if there were no questions or further comments, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move we accept resolution 2023-R-06, resolution Union City Common Council approving establishment of executive director position for Vision Corner.
I'll second.
Amy, if you would, roll call.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Tito Freeze.
Yes.
All right. Visitors wishing to address the board, please stand, state your name, address, and nature of business. Did you guys want to?
I've got a couple of things I'd like to say to you. I want to thank the fire department for the tour they gave us, the fire department, a couple of weeks ago. The only problem was the fire alarm went off. But that was all part of how it works and stuff there, so it's interesting. I also want to thank the city for giving us a warm place to meet down the street here.
Awesome.
It's probably the nicest place we've met in the 45 years I've been scoutmaster.
Oh, That's good.
And about the lights, the boys enjoyed setting up lights, and I think we'll have them out there to help take them down too.
Oh, that's
They're
awesome.
also gonna be out there 2 nights manning the gates.
Oh, cool.
And that's an opportunity for them to get some money for summer camp and the activities, which is great. And I think it's a wonderful program because the community, a lot of the clubs and schools is getting some income off of it. Plus, I think it's paying for itself, maybe. At least I hope it
The
is.
supplies, yeah.
But the only problems I have is I've talked to other scoutmasters around east of here, and a lot of them don't know anything about the lights.
Oh,
And really, I said, no. I said, well, you need to come over here and see them. Well, every night around Christmas, I see the mill down there at Yellow Springs, or Clifton
Clifton.
Gorge, advertise. I don't know if they have to pay for that or what,
Sure they do.
but
They
it'd
do.
be nice to maybe have at least a couple newspaper articles in the Early Bird, or maybe get Channel 2 or 7 or one of them to come up and see it.
yeah.
There's a lot of people missing out on it, and there's a lot of work goes in out there, and it's a shame that more people don't see it.
I appreciate that. We do have a billboard on I-70.
I've seen
And that's
that.
paid for Randolph County, by Randolph County Tourism. Really thankful to them for that. Shelley King works really hard on getting the word out. She has tried like gangbusters to get his name Bill. I don't want to say Bill Baker. That's a resident here in town. Jim Baker, I think was his name. With I think Channel 7 maybe
That's
to come
Steve
in.
Baker.
Huh?
Steve Baker.
Steve Baker, thank you. Steve Baker to come in, and he had said multiple times he would, but he doesn't show. And so she has worked her tail off to try to get that established. We have had a couple newspapers. In fact, News Gazette just just had an article about community crisis in about a week ago. But we could always do more with publicity. So if you guys have any suggestions, we'll try to get the word out more and more. And then also, do you know what days you're working the gates? Because that'd be good to.
Oh, let's see. We're going the day after Christmas.
So
And then I
26th.
think I remember right, the 16th on Saturday night.
So December 16th. Oh, that'll be a
I
big
think
one.
it's Last year when we did it, Shelley
16th
said
and
that we had the biggest income of the season.
Wow.
And, I mean, I was getting pots and bags full of money and putting them in my car and locking it up. It's a good place to get hit on. And I need a bigger container to hold the money out there.
We're blessed by everybody that gives, and we've received comment too that it's nice that it's free, because a lot of places like Indianapolis and so forth, they have great light displays, Clifton Mills down there, but they charge. And 10, 20, 25 bucks a pop, and here it's free. You drive through as many times as you want. We absolutely welcome the donations, any and all amounts, but it's not expected. It's hoped for, but it's not expected.
This community's been real good to the scouts as far as helping finance it. I've never really had trouble with money. We went out to New Mexico, Philmont different times years back, talked to the Elks, talked to the FW Legion. The Elk come up with $1,000. The Elks meeting, and I was arguing that they wanted to give $2,000. Some of them I said no. 1,000's very helpful. Don't need any more. Use 1,000 for something in the community. This year we sold popcorn. That's big income for the boys. Some of the boys made over $500 selling popcorn. Well, one of them's sitting right here. And the other two
Way to
did
go,
real
Jackson.
good too. But then Shelley contacted us about the chicken and pork chop dinner down here next week. And we sold some tickets for that to help out. But she also said that the troops getting the whole income from it this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Said they bounce that around with different charities and stuff in the community, and she thought it was our turn.
That's good.
Scouting's getting more expensive. It costs $150 for a kid to join now.
Gee.
When I was a kid, it was 50 cents.
Oh, mercy.
But Boy Scout big wheels are hurting. The only income they got is off popcorn sales. They got a third of it, and off the registration and a few donations. But they've been hit so hard over lawsuits in the last 10 years that they're broke. But then furthermore, from the the park in, they'll have some income. And then we have the hot dog sales out to Didier's, it's, kids make about $70 there.
That's awesome.
So it pretty much makes us self-supporting where we're not having to dig in the parents' pocket if the kids are willing to show up, which a scouting should pay, kids should pay their own way if they can. So that's all part of it. These boys are here for citizenship and the community merit badge. They've been working on different things at the scout meeting, and one of the requirements was to sit in on a city meeting, and I thank you for that. And,
Well, and you're Larry Young. You're Larry Young, correct? And you've been a scout, the head of scouts for how long?
45 years.
45 years.
Scoutmaster.
No, thank you.
And 10 when I was a kid here in Eden City.
Wow,
So I've been around this town for 77 years.
that's awesome. Thank
A lot
you.
of changes.
Thank you for your service, big time. And boys, thanks
I probably wouldn't be
again.
doing it if I didn't enjoy it, but
Well, that's,
it's got its times.
trust me, we know the pain. December 16th, December 26th. So if you guys, I'm not on Facebook, if you guys Facebook, post on Facebook, post it December 16th, December 26th, got a chance to come out and see the lights and support the scouts. So that's huge. So appreciate you guys, big time.
Shelby always has a sign out there at the donation booth saying where it goes and stuff.
Right.
That helps
Well,
too.
we're gonna get the word out in advance too.
Yeah.
So, and get those folks you talked to in Ohio to come down here that day.
Everything we do is costing more. The canoe trips,
Yeah.
the snow tubing, summer camp is $325. And there's usually some other expenses in that.
You have a lot of boys participating.
Huh?
You have a lot of boys and young men participating.
Yeah. Now, in the summer, we meet out here at Stockdale's Park.
Oh, okay.
We meet
I
out here
know
full
that.
time.
Yeah.
Get them outdoors. We got 2 canoes out there, and they got a nice shelter, and they can build campfires and camp and do stuff like that.
That's awesome.
So it's a good variety.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the day of the next city council meeting is Monday, December 11th at 6 p.m. and the Board of Works meeting is also Monday, December 11th at 9:30 a.m. I would hereby entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Tim by hair, Bob maybe second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.